So candle bodies respecting the premium end of this fair value gap right here. Preferably we do see it close below 50% of the stealing range, so below 15,398, and then if you want to remain bearish, a full closure past this blue shaded area here, and then into the sell side again. Let's check on ES. ES tapping to the inversion fair value gap. I think it's also a 2-minute as well as a 5-minute gap. Same thing with YM, filling this gap right in here. Not trusting any price action on NQ right now, so we get some start to pair up. All three are pushing right now upwards. If ES closes above their 5-minute gap, then expect bullish price action. You can see we're starting to wick into this 5-minute gap as well on DXY. It does look like we're going to remain bullish, especially if you look at the 3-minute. Tap into this gap, fill this entire gap, and we close back above it. So if anything, gun to my head, I'm favoring upside. Let me type that over. Especially, yeah, ES starting to climb quite aggressively above their gaps. So I am favoring upside movement. So if you can fill maybe this gap right here, move this. 2-minute gap forming as well. So if we tap into that 2-minute, I'm fine with using that as a opportunity to go long. So there's the fill of the 2-minute gap. Watch now we respect this gap or not. Filling the majority of it. Let's look at the 3. Filling this gap on the 3. Hopefully trading back above. Tapping into the version for value gap now. DXY is climbing up. ES as well, pumping lower. Definitely low probability still. So yeah, look for potentially a close below this entire gap. Right here. Tapping into this 2 and 3. But since YM is dropping off aggressively, then I want to see NQ start to follow up, as well as ES. Look for their sell side. Short term would be right here. And then continued move down into potentially 44.87. Just filled this gap right here. Let me remove some of this stuff. So yeah, once we close below here, should see quick expansion down into 44.90 and then 44.87-ish. Let's make sure NQ is dropping off as well. Yep, starting to close more and more bearishly into this gap here, and move that for now. See gap here as well. Let me remove that. Watch this gap. Definitely still low probability. There's really nothing clean about this that I'm liking. With how weak YM is, we haven't seen it continue to move lower on NQ. This is kind of weird. We're filling this gap here on ES, the 1 minute gap. Price action is definitely spotty on ES, so we might have to just wait for 10:30. Switch to the 2 minute gap. Okay, we didn't close below the 2 minute gap completely, right in here. Don't think we have any news today. Nope. This is evidence of low probability signatures. So, no clear drawn liquidity. We smacked out the London session high, and then we kind of tree back lower, filled the 3 minute gap, and now we're just chopping around here for the 10 a.m. window. So whenever you see these kind of signatures beforehand, especially if indices are not aligned with DXY or just not aligned with themselves, don't expect a lot of clean price action to form as a result. So wick down lower, I really have no idea where it's going to go. We'll have to wait for after the macro end, so after 10:10, hopefully price action is a little bit more aligned. But if you can see here, roughly at midpoint of the range, NQ's at the high point of the range, YM at the low point, and DXY is pumping with no real downside movement seen on NQ or ES, right? YM is the only one who kind of replicated that movement on DXY. So I do want to see either a sweep of this short-term high. I'm assuming this high is going to be swept for the macro end. But yeah, it's definitely low probability. I'm not going to take any positions with that. Still kind of chopping around between these two gaps here. So I want to see it close above or below either this gap entirely or this gap entirely for me to look for proper displacement. So displacement, I think I said this on Friday. It's one of those things where if you don't have displacement and price is chopping around or draw on liquidity, then you want to just avoid price action. So typically for me, it's displacement plus time. So that's, I guess, time and price elements. So within a specific time, you want to see displacement, and then that's your trade model based off of that. If you get no displacement, you have a lot of chopping around price action. You'll get this kind of stuff where you'll either short it and it won't go in your favor, or you'll go long off this for value gap and price will take too long. Typically, you want to see low resistance liquidity run. So as soon as you enter, maybe it stays there for a couple candles and then accelerates in the direction you're favoring towards liquidity. So especially with gaps in between, some multiple gaps like this, where it's kind of just bouncing in between, you can expect this kind of choppy price action. Now when it leaves it, you have to be careful of Judas swings. So Judas swings can kind of be more anticipated when there's a draw on liquidity that's clear. So if this line up here, which I'm not sure, so it's buy side liquidity from Friday. So this is the true draw. You would see a Judas swing down below these relative equal lows into this gap once more, and then the acceleration back up. But if we don't want to create a Judas swing, then see how this wants to close above here, the 952 candle, create a breakaway gap, and then maybe a second gap can be used to go long. Now ES starting to climb above their 5-minute gap as well. DXY is slowly dropping off. So I do want to see a close above this gap. Let me screenshot this and set it over to predictions. Still kind of wicking it right now. See what ES is doing. ES climbing, still wicking into their 5-minute gap. We wicked it once, didn't close below. That's why I'm also expecting kind of a bullish closure on here. Why I'm still dropping off. Well, it's definitely hard to tell. Monday mornings. And a lot of people avoid Mondays for this specific reason. Especially if you look at it from a power of 3 perspective. Monday is your accumulation, Tuesday, Wednesday manipulation, and then Thursday, Friday distribution, something like that. So a lot of times you'll have choppy price action on Monday. You may have to refine down some of my entry criteria for Monday specifically. Might just look at 10:30 as the it's the only model. We'll see if that also wants to play out today. You can see on the 15-minute chart we're also closing above this 15-minute gap here from the 7 a.m. candle. So I ran out the short-term sell stops right here into the fair value gap. Now I'm looking for a trade above the sibi now, assuming you want to remain bullish. Wow, I'm still dropping off. So is ES. Definitely still a lot of probability. Not liking any of this price action. YM looks like it's going for the highs right up here. I'd like to see NQ start to move lower now too. I'd like to see if you want to remain bearish, close below 50% of this gap. So below 15,389.75. Starting to get some movement now. Should see a quick little bit of a climb higher and then close below this gap. There might be a little 1 minute for real. I get the forms right in here. Potentially seen as a breakaway, but maybe a IO Fed wick up into the discount end, and then continuing to return to sell side. Some right here. Obviously these swing lows down here, but watch the 15,330 as well. So close below the gap there. Waiting to see if you want to return into this tiny 1 minute for value gap that's about to form. So there's the fill of that gap and a quick reaction higher. I'm not sure if you saw the notes post I posted. I think it was yesterday, a couple days ago. It was the burning candlesticks and counting grains of sand trading model that ICT did in his Twitter space. It's a 30-second trading model. He says it basically shows up every 15 minutes. And it's used a drawn liquidity from the hourly or the 15-minute time frame, and then you look for 1 minute or 5 minute short-term sweeps of liquidity of above an old swing high or swing low, and then you drop down to the 30-second chart and use that as your entry time frame, which that's extremely difficult. I know a lot of people are going to try that probably today or tomorrow or something. A bunch of people are going to get smashed by that. So just stick with your own model. I know ICT releases a bunch of new stuff. Sometimes it's just good to, obviously it's good to learn all this new stuff if you're interested in that, but if you have a model that works, or if you have a model that you've been backtesting for the past couple months, for me I've been basically trading macros since like March, something around there, maybe before that. So that's what I'm most comfortable with. So I'm not going to try and learn all these, Reaper IFVGs and the Medusa PD array, stuff like that, because I'm not going to use them. It's good to have just in your arsenal, especially if you're looking at different time frames. I think it's good, but Silver Bullet and macros are probably what 90% of people I think should use. Macros are super, super simple. 20-minute time frame, you find your displacement, you target your 20 points, and that's it. But obviously it's scalpy, so you're not going to get entire session range moves unless you're holding runners for external range liquidity. But if you're just looking for the 20 points, get in, you get your 20-minute window, maybe 40-minute window, you're looking at price, you get your $400 and leave. I don't see any problem with that. So that's probably what I'll be sticking to. So I'm not going to learn that 30-second trading model. I might back this a little bit just to see the validity of it. Maybe send some notes to the note chat, and if you guys are interested in that, then I'll send it. Maybe find a little checklist you could do, something like that. But the basis is just sweep of liquidity, you see displacement back in the direction for value gap. Use that as an entry point. So it's almost like a short-term 2022 model. But at a very, very low time frame. I don't suggest trading anything lower than a 1 minute. Like once you get into seconds, I feel like it's a lot of data, but to each their own. I think even for new traders, anything below the 3 minute is kind of rough, especially if you're looking for model 2022, can't speak, or like unicorn setups, anything that's a little bit longer term. Is there a specific time window you look at for a market maker X model, and can you use macro on FX 1050, for example? There is not a specific time window you can look for. Market maker, buy model, sell model. It kind of just happens whenever. It also happens on every single time frame, so it's a little bit more difficult to predict. It's kind of things you have to just watch and wait to see starting to form the buy side or sell side of the curve, and then you use whatever entry technique you use to capture the other side. As far as macros on Forex, I'm not entirely sure. I assume no, just because there's different kill zones that you look at for indices compared to Forex. But obviously you could backtest and see what it is. But I think even for commodities, so if you look at oil, 1050 macro doesn't always, or 950 macro doesn't always produce. I know Silver Bullet does. Silver Bullet I think is kind of just general across all asset classes. Macros I'm not entirely sure. I know there's sometimes market maker buy models will happen. Basically, you'll see an MMXM form once per session in some manner. I know AM session, lunch or PM session, you'll see at least one between the three. Obviously, that's basically mean you have to watch the entire day, which is kind of why I don't like trading those larger models. But it's also extremely effective if you can find the right side. You have an order block right in here as well as this fair value gap. Watch that. Tapped into the order block. As long as DXY can keep dropping off, then we should see higher prices on all three indices. You can see yes, close above their 5-minute gap as well, filling this tiny 1-minute gap right in here, as well as the order block, premium end. So we just tapped into the order block here. We'll see now expansion. Now I'm just going to wait for 1030, 1045. This could also be used as your silver bullet long. If you use order blocks as your entry technique, I would prefer a fill of this fair value gap down here, especially with the breaker, tiny breaker, low, high, lower, low. Last up close candle will be right in here. So this 1003 candle, draw that out in time, line it up with the fair value gap. That would technically be your unicorn setup, except we didn't get a sweep of the sell stops. So that's the only thing that's missing. As long as we continue this upside movement, we should see a retracement at 1030, continuation up to the buy side, or if we sweep this and then return back lower, displacement within 1030-ish to 1033. So rejected off the order block. Look for a continuous move above 15,440-ish. See what ES is doing. ES also climbing, fill this gap, tapped into the order block perfectly. Look at the candle bodies on that one. Perfectly respecting the order block there. Look for short-term swing high, and then London. We have not swept London at all yet, so look for that as a potential as well. I'll send a screenshot of this to your predictions chat. Is price action a bit weird? Is it just me? I'm rusty, I think. No, price action is definitely weird. It's a Monday, and normally you don't see this kind of price action. Macro didn't deliver for the most part. I mean, kind of did deliver right here, but that's a tough entry to take. Yeah, price action is definitely weird. If you look at the low probability Q&A post, if you scroll up, you have how to expect low probability. So large overnight move and framing both sides, so 50-50. SMT divergence, the averages are not agreeing, and DXY is not inverse the indices. So we had like two of those. That's why it kind of was low probability for that macro there. Now 950 is typically the one where if you get low probability in this, the later AM macros will provide instead. So I would like to see a 1030 to 1045 entry point, as well as a 1050 to 11 a.m. Entry point. I don't know about the 1150. I haven't done enough backtesting on that to reliably use it, so I'm not using that as my model. But filling this bisi as well as the propulsion block. So as long as we get a close above here, I would like to see continuation. So preferably we do close above this bisi entirely. Then you could look for 20 points from here. A little bit of a hike, but it's not nothing that NQ can't do. Obviously, if we close below this gap entirely, look for potentially we return back into the order block. 2 minute, very strong price action there. Tiny gap, we just filled it, closed back above. And the 1 minute gap, we just closed above that gap. 1 minute candle closed above the gap right here. So this is your 20 points roughly. So watch how these candles respect this bisi right here. I'll move it to blue so you can see it a little bit better. Definitely a slow day. I know last Friday was slow. Today is slow as well. It's kind of annoying, but sometimes it happens. So I apologize if you're new. It's not normally this boring. So I'll flip to green, close at the discount end, but hopefully we can close back above the gap. Looking good for a push up. As long as this closes above the gap. Then you should see hopefully some speed above here. So last liquidity sweep towards external. Got 10 minutes till 10:30. So as long as this price action continues, we should see a sweep of London on ES, and then NQ maybe popping above their Friday highs. Not Friday high, but Friday swing high from 12:45. We also have a new week opening gap at 15,500 even-ish. We'll call it that. And then another 15-minute gap all the way up here from 9:30 opening, which I'll also mark this out. All the way up here. So if we close above the speed line, should see hopefully a couple of candles pop through the 20. Tap into the fair value gap once again. Yeah, it's definitely a choppy day. Normally after this candle, you would see a quick acceleration above the speed point. But you can see we're just rejecting back lower. Why I'm still trading within this gap here. DXY looks like it wants to head lower. Close below all these PD arrays right here. Forming some bearish PD arrays, fill this gap right in there. And hopefully returning back lower. Short-term sell side would be at the 948 candle. You can see the SMT divergence, not SMT divergence, but lack to break this swing high up here. So it's a good indication of weakness. And as long as DXY wants to head lower, then indices should pop up. If you go back to NQ though, you can see NQ is kind of closing below their gap. Once more tapping to the order block. Not liking this price action for bulls anymore. Do also have this larger fair value gap down here we might want to fill. NQ's hitting 1 hour breaker. Yeah, we are trading within a breaker right here. I want to see it close above it though if we want to return back. So low, high, lower, low. Swept out the short-term liquidity back here. As long as we close above here, above this London session high on the hourly. Now there isn't a fair value gap. You could use potentially this. I guess you could use the breaker as an entry on the hourly, or if a fair value gap does form, maybe up here on the 15-minute chart, you could use that as well. Close below the order block, probably tapping to the 3. Let me clear some of this stuff out. Yeah, tapping into this 3-minute gap right here. We'll see how we close on that. This is another thing about the silver bullet entry. If you don't constrict it down to a time, further left on Friday. Talking about this right here from the 10 a.m. candle. Do it for value gap right in here as well. Yeah. This technically is a breaker as well. I would consider this more of a breaker too, because this is a low, high, lower, low. Swept out this liquidity from Wednesday. We also do have this liquidity from last week. So our previous week low. So this is a better breaker if you have sweep of higher time from liquidity. What was I saying? Oh, silver bullet. Yeah, so if you don't constrict the silver bullet time, if you're looking from 10 a.m. all the way to 11 a.m., you'll get, especially on the 1 minute, you'll get a ton of entry points. So it's good to kind of constrict it down either past the macro time, so after 10:10, or you could look at 10:30, maybe 10:20. I know you get an entry sometimes around 10:20ish. So if you can constrict it, that'll give you hopefully less noise, especially if you switch to higher time frame. If there's too much noise on the 1 minute, I suggest switching to 3 minute and using that for silver bullet, especially if you have external liquidity. It should definitely give an entry point. But that's why if you look at the 1 minute, I'm just going to constrict my silver bullet trade down from here to here, roughly, which we're filling this tiny gap right in here. Technically, it's a 2022 model forming. We have short-term buy set up here, swap that. Market structure shift below the 1014 candle. Fair value gap right in here. Tapping it. Let's see what DXY wants to do. I'm not sure. Yes, also failing to sweep their high. I want to see a sweep of this high though. Kind of waiting for that. Especially since we failed to sweep the low. I definitely want to see a sweep of 4502. Put an alarm up here. Almost seems like search and destroy conditions. Remove some of these annotations really quick. Watch this fair value gap in here as well. So YM slowly chopping back up. NQ at the high end of the range, so is ES. And no directional indication yet. So filling this 3-minute gap here. See, we closed above 50% of this gap. Trading back above the 1-minute gap here. We'll like to see it close above if we remain bullish into 15,390. No, 15,439. Yes, same thing. I'm still looking for the swing high up here. I don't think we'll reject this close to it without sweeping out. Now, if that is the case, I would expect that these lows are kept intact for ensuring liquidity for tomorrow and Wednesday. So if we sweep this out and continue, I want to see it just continue to climb up into maybe 45.19. There's a swing high up here. I'll mark this out. Now I know ICT said he would do a lecture on opening range, which is from 9:30 to 10. My guess is that if you see a sweep of one, the other one will stay intact, which is similar to the IDR theory. But I'm definitely just going to wait for that to see if it has any merit to it. Starting to close back below. Now if we get displacement all the way through the order block here, then downside price action may be expected. And that'd be kind of unfortunate if we didn't sweep this out. Now if this is left open, then sell side should be in target for the rest of the day, and we shouldn't see a return back up into here. So depending on which high and low we sweep, you have the 10 a.m. low and 9:30 high. That'll be determined for the rest of the day, I think. Now watch 50% of this gap as well. So 402.25. If we get a candle body below that, then it's weakness. Here is 10:30 to 10:45. I want to say displacement preferably within this time slot. I'm not going to use this as a long in here, even though we are filling the gap. So but YM is still kind of shopping around. ES, not sure. Let's look at DXY. Still nothing. We'll put an alarm up here and an alarm down here. So closed above 50% for now. Let's see where this candle closes. Right around the same level. DXY is headed lower. So we might get a bounce off of this gap. Looks like ES wants to do it as well. Now if you're looking for 20 points from the 1009 gap, right around there, I'd like to see it close either above this gap entirely for me to remain bullish, but look for this gap as a potential, or this 20 points as a potential. Close above the gap, As long as DXYs continue to drop off, then should see upside movement on Cs. I put a demo on right here. I'll put a stop at the low end. Look for 40, 20 points. Definitely late entry, but it's whatever. We'll see if it wants to. Nah, potentially we'd see a sweep of this short-term high up here. That's your internal range liquidity. Right up in there. Assuming that this bisi wants to hold. And DXY is dropping off. Yeah, DXY is dropping off. YM starting to push back up now. Look for a close above this high. Such weird price action. There's a stop on the demo. Still low probability. You can see YM's climbing up. DX or NQ just filled their entire gap. Tapped into this lower one. Stopped me out on demo. ES kind of shopping around too. Truly unfortunate. We'll see how this forms. So if this forms a gap in here, you'd look for the 1034 candle to close potentially below the gap entirely, and then this fair value gap that forms in here use as a shorting opportunity for the sell side. I'd also need DXY to pop up, which you're about to short sweep out this short-term sell side. If you sweep this out and then climb back above the range, that's fine, but it's definitely hard to tell. See we close below 50% of this gap. Starting to form a tiny 1 minute sibi in there. So watch this sibi right here. Could look for 20 points from there. YM's popping back up. Such weird price action. Definitely low probability. Can't even look for anything on this. So may close above this gap entirely now. Yes, just swept out there 4502. I'll screenshot this, send it over to predictions chat as well. Oh, ICT just posted. Let's see what he said. What is this? IFEG model 2022 on the 1 minute. See, I saw that, but I'm not trusting the price action that much right now. Just fill the entire gap. Now you could look for the swing high, or the swing low, sorry. About to reach the 20 from the 1033 candle. right in there. Stop would be potentially above this swing high here. And external range liquidity, or internal, sorry, is at 947. So there's the 20 points smack through. Still looking for liquidity down here. Screenshot this, send it over predictions as well. Now I did take a demo trade with that in mind. I'll send a screenshot of that to the future trades once I get filled on the 15370.5 level. Definitely should be hit. Look for sell side as well all the way down there, but I want to see. There we go. So I'll send a screenshot of that. Check futures trades. It was a 1030 to 1045 macro entry. So there's my execution right here. Guess the big man does know best, right? Well, those are your model 2022 that I annotated with the market structure shift below 1014, super buy side, and then 1030 to 1045 sweet spot right there. Filling the gap, stop loss not hit, and then displace 20 and into liquidity. So that's your macro signatures hit. And then you could look for sell side. I think this would definitely be hit by lunch. I'd be looking for extended sell side below that. Let me move some of these gaps here. Actually, I'll move this right here. So look for this gap to be held. Sell side all the way down here. And you can see here's your 1032, 1045. I'll screenshot this really quick, send it to macro predictions, or no, macro view. So Friday didn't play out, but today it did. So there's the execution. If you look at futures trades really quick, I'll cover that. So created the gap at 1033, which I feel like a lot of times it does form at 1033. It's kind of weird. I know we had 1033 entry at, oh no, we had 1031 on Thursday. And then 1030, no, okay. I might just be going crazy. But if you look at the screenshot, we had gap fill of this right here, 1033 candle. We've closed above it, which is kind of maybe hesitant to enter. Then once we started rejecting and started to close below the swing low from 1035, I entered short after that rejection. And then I was originally targeting 20 points, got 27 after we swept out the swing low from 947. I'm still looking for a continued downside. Let me type this up in future chat really quick. So this is also within the macro time. Could use that as a shorting opportunity for 20. I'm already got the 20 from that, so I'm not going to take another entry point. But you should see a sweep of sell side all the way down here. Let's look at ES. Beautiful. Swept out the high we were looking for and instantly rejected. Got the market structure shift below the low right here. And now looking for a fill of that for value gap potentially on the 1 minute. Then into the sell side down here. Lots of low resistance sell side all the way to 44.87. So that potentially is the swing high of the week. Right up here. May see a return into PM session, but if lunch and PM session hold this high, it's very, very possible we leave that as the high of the week. Then Wednesday, displacement to the downside as annotated with these multiple volume imbalances down here. Mean threshold, the order block, sell side at August 25th low. I'd like to see a fill of the ES gap, which looks like we're about to do. Obviously, you could use that as a shorting opportunity, looking for 5 points to the downside, right around that swing low from 1008. I think the 946 candle is also a good target. I'll send this prediction chat as well. I think that might do it for today. Let's make sure we're not missing anything. Yeah, filling the gap here. I would expect sell side to be hit by, we'll give it till 11:30, preferably by lunch. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can put them up in the chat right now. Before we start to close out, I'll put the stream recording up on YouTube once it's done rendering. Probably won't chop up today since it's a little bit low probability, but you can still go back and watch it if you want to. Maybe look at the signatures that are evident, so you can avoid these kind of days, especially up until maybe 10:30ish, which is kind of funny because we didn't get a signal. I mean, we got the 950 short right in here, but definitely rough, especially after I said it was going to be rough. Got 20 points from that short, as well as 20 points from this right here. Then kind of chopping around for silver bullet. 10:30 provided. Don't know if 10:50 will, so I'll just end the stream there. If I see anything of interest, I'll send my thoughts as well. PM session will not be looking at PM session at all. So if you're interested in backtesting data, shoot me a DM and I'll respond with whatever you need. So until tomorrow, or yeah, tomorrow will be probably right after 9:50 macro. I got some stuff to do in the morning, so look for a stream around 10:15ish. I'll update you guys in the morning. I'll put something in Trading All Chat of when the stream I think will start. Otherwise, I'll see you guys Wednesday for sure on time, as well as Friday on time. Thursday, same exact thing, should be around 10:15. So thanks for coming out this morning. I know it was a little bit rough, but hopefully you're able to learn something. Stay safe, use proper risk management rules, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Good luck and good trading.